Hey, and welcome to the Mickey in Minutes podcast. Quick conversations, information, and inspiration. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga, and I hope you enjoy this episode of The Short Disney Show. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mickey in Minutes podcast. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga, and this is Season 8, Episode 1. On this episode, I'm going to talk all about the Disney parks icons. So every park has an icon. It's the big building that stands out and represents that park on everything from merchandise to posters and, everything in between. So I thought it'd be fun to rank them best to worst. Now, of course, I use the word worst really lightly because none of these icons are actually bad, right? But you know what? Something has to be last. I know a lot of these countdown shows like to go from the bottom up and have, the winning thing be the big reveal. But I thought it'd be better to do it the other way around because I'm pretty sure most people can figure out what number one is. But I'm sure there's a lot more questions. What could possibly be my number 6? So I'm saying 6 because I'm only going to be talking about the Disney icons here in the United States. Because I haven't visited any of the foreign parks yet, so it'd be unfair to include any of those. But let's do this. Let's do a countdown here. Best to worst Disney parks icons, and I want to know your feedback. Is there something on this list that you just really disagree with, and you got to let me know? Like, I was going over this list with my wife before recording, and she was adamant that I change the last two, that I flip them. But, I'm sticking to my guns here. So if there's anything that you think I got wrong, or if there's something that you really, really agree with me on, let me know in the comments wherever you listen. And, let's make this a conversation. So let's start off with what I consider to be the number one, the best Disney parks icon here in the United States. And of course, say it with me, Cinderella Castle. Did you think I was going to say Sleeping Beauty Castle? No, it's Cinderella Castle. So when the Magic Kingdom opened on October 1st, 1971, it was anchored by the 189-foot gorgeous and whimsical castle. This castle appears to be much larger than 189 feet, though, because of its spectacular use of forced perspective. It took 18 months to complete, and even though it looks like it, 0 stones. It's actually made of fiberglass, steel, and other building materials, but no stone. Named after the 1950 animated classic, this building is not only the park's gateway to Fantasyland, it's a visual representation of Disney magic to the entire world. And that's not hyperbole, because it is not just iconic to Disney fans, but it's actually one of the most photographed buildings on Earth in what is literally the most popular theme park on Earth. But it's more than just a beautiful photo backdrop. It's a stage for daytime shows, a projection canvas and centerpiece for nighttime spectaculars, and a restaurant where you could actually dine with Disney royalty, if you can get a reservation, that is. It also houses 5 beautiful mosaic murals depicting the story of Cinderella, made of multicolor Italian glass, silver, and 14-karat gold. Cinderella Castle has also been used by the company to represent all of the Disney parks, since it's actually the only one of the icons on the official Disney Parks logo. And since around 2006, it's been used as the opening logo animation for Disney films as well, allowing for people who have never been to the parks to still have a strong emotional and nostalgic connection to it. Cinderella Castle has had many different looks over the years, including the now retired Christmas dream lights. I miss those. The 25th anniversary birthday cake, Stitch's toilet paper and graffiti, and the most recent pink and gold 50th anniversary colors. Now, it's finally being repainted back to its original, elegant color scheme of gray and blue. But no matter what it's overlaid to look like, it's still beautiful, except maybe when it was a cake. But I personally have fond memories for that cake. So, anyways, it's so beautiful, in fact, that it's currently the only castle to have a twin. The icon of Tokyo Disneyland is a very close copy of this one in Orlando. So, with all that being said, it's hard to argue with the opinion that Cinderella Castle is the best Disney Parks icon. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you agree that that should be number one? All right, number two on my list is Sleeping Beauty Castle. Of course, the castles had to be numbers one and two. The original icon in a Disney park. This castle is much smaller than the Magic Kingdoms, though, standing at only 77 feet. But I would argue that it's way more special since it's the only one that Walt Disney himself had his hand in creating. The castle houses the Sleeping Beauty walkthrough exhibit that retells the story of the animated film it was named after using fantastic vignettes, audio, and fun effects. This is also the only castle with a working drawbridge, even though it's actually only been moved twice. Once on opening day in 1955, allowing children to enter Fantasyland for the first time, and once in 1983 to commemorate the opening of New Fantasyland, an updated and remodeled version of the original land. Since the beginning of the Disneyland TV show, before the park was ever opened, people have followed the construction of this castle and seen it every time they watched the show because it was in the opening. It was an invitation for adults and children alike to embrace wonder, fantasy, and dreams, and it still is. At 70 years old now, the castle looks better than ever. So, this classic beauty is anything but a sleeper, and it holds the number two spot on my list. All right, we're getting away from the castles now, so here I think is where the controversy will begin. Number three, Spaceship Earth. The icon of the second Florida Disney theme park, Epcot, is a geodesic sphere that has been a symbol of Walt Disney's futurism and optimism since the park opened in 1982. This stunning structure is covered with over 11,000 triangles made of a lightweight carbon aluminum compound called alucobond. Spaceship Earth stands at 180 feet tall and houses the classic slow moving dark ride of the same name. It tells the story of the history of communication and technology through the use of audio animatronics. It currently features a narration by Dame Judi Dench, though she was not the original, nor is she my favorite. I loved the Jeremy Irons version, but before him, it was narrated by Walter Cronkite, and before him, Lawrence Dobkin was the original narrator. Though many people believe that the attraction inside could use a major update and refurbishment, and I don't disagree with them, the outside recently got a big glow up. Literally. Beacons of Magic is the light show that occurs several times a night thanks to the 1,861 new lights that were added to the exterior for the Walt Disney World 50th anniversary celebration. And when the show isn't going on at night, the lights still glow and change colors beautifully with more than 30 million lumens of light that can be seen for miles and miles around. There's nothing in the world quite like Spaceship Earth. And I love how it so beautifully represents every single aspect of that park. And it's simple, but effective in its design. Its shiny silver futuristic exterior represents what was formerly called Future World, but now known as World Nature, World Discovery, and World Celebration. And it's a globe representing the unity across nations, like World Showcase. And of course, the attraction inside beautifully ties together history and technology and world cultures, just like the entire park does as well. That's why I think this is the best non castle icon and number three on my list. Number four, the Hollywood Tower Hotel. The Hollywood Tower Hotel is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction. This, as you might recognize, is the icon of Disney Hollywood Studios. But it didn't used to be. When the park first opened, it was half theme park and half backlot studio tour, so the icon was the Earful Tower. That was a fake water tower reminiscent of the one at the real Walt Disney Studios, but this one was wearing a pair of classic Mickey ears. Some would argue that the Chinese theater was the park's icon for a while too, but due to it being a copy of a real building in California, it never actually officially was an icon. But the park did get another icon during the 100 Years of Magic celebration back in 2001. It was a giant Mickey sorcerer's hat that was dropped right in front of the Chinese theater. It was actually the icon for way too long, in my opinion. It didn't stop being the icon until 2015. When that hat was finally gone and the Eiffel Tower was taken away for Galaxy's Edge, the icon became what I think it should have been a long time before, the Tower of Terror. This attraction opened in 1994 and was housed in what looked like a classic hotel in a Hollywood that never was. I can't think of a better icon for a park that celebrates movies and Hollywood than a building that represents old, timeless Hollywood and even has the word Hollywood written on the side of it. Not to mention that this thrill ride is one of the best attractions Disney has ever made, in my opinion. You probably agree with me, though. Now, it's not as widely recognizable as the castles or even Spaceship Earth, but this structure looms over the park and can be seen from the Skyliner as you approach it. In my opinion, it's the perfect icon for this park, and it lands at number 4 on my list. So, I have 2 icons left. Can you guess which one I think is the bottom one? I guess you're about to find out. Number 5 is the Pixar Pal Around. Now, many people might not recognize this one by name, but I'm sure they've seen it before. This is the 150-foot tall Ferris wheel that represents Disney California Adventure Park. Now, this attraction has gone through many names and themes over the years, starting in 2001 with the opening of the park when it was called the Sun Wheel. It wasn't really Disney at all. It just had a big sun on the front. So at this point, it wasn't even the icon of the park. The icon used to be Grizzly Peak, which I don't think really worked very well either. But then in 2009, it became Mickey's Fun Wheel. At this point, they replaced the sun with a giant pie-eyed Mickey face, and it instantly became iconic. Then in 2018, the land it's in changed its name from Paradise Pier to Pixar Pier, and this attraction was renamed the Pixar Pal Around. But the Mickey face on the Ferris wheel had already become so iconic that they left it there, even though it was a Pixar themed attraction. So they just changed the gondolas to have Pixar characters on them instead. This giant Ferris wheel with a picture of classic Mickey on it sitting in front of the Incredicoaster on Paradise Bay makes it one of the most scenic backdrops to me in any Disney park. And it makes you feel like you've entered a timeless waterfront pier amusement park. And that's just it. This icon represents both main aspects of Disney California Adventure Park perfectly. The front of the park represents a time when Walt Disney first arrived in Hollywood in 1923. It even has the Carthay Circle Theater in the front. That is what the pie-eyed Mickey represents. Then, the other aspect of the park celebrates California. And it's hard to not think of California without thinking of a pierside amusement park on the waterfront. And it's beautiful, especially at night, and especially when it's the backdrop for World of Color. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could I put Tree of Life last? All the Animal Kingdom fans are yelling at their radios or computers or wherever you're listening to this right now. This beautiful centerpiece of Animal Kingdom Park gets last place on my list for one simple reason. Something had to take last place. This beautiful tree is 145 feet tall and adorned with 377 carvings of animals of all types. And these are so beautiful, and they represent the fact that we're all connected in the great circle of life. However, to me, the tree of life lacks something that, in my opinion, all the other ones really have, and that's a photogenic quality. And I think the park icons require that it looks beautiful no matter what. In my opinion, it also gets lost with the actual trees and foliage behind it and around it. And it's really only up close that you could actually see the true beauty of this icon, and that is the sculptures and the design. The Tree of Life is home to the Tree of Life Theater, which currently presents the 3D film Zootopia Better Zoogether, which opened late last year. But it used to be home to It's Tough to Be a Bug, a show that I really enjoyed and have some nostalgia for. So that changeover may have influenced this a little bit. Now, sometimes when the park is open after dark, there's a projection show on it called Tree of Life Awakenings, which is good, but it doesn't happen nearly enough since this park usually closes around 6 or 7. So that's another beautiful thing about the icon that people rarely get to see. You see where I'm going with this? With why it had to be last? The tree itself does a really good job of representing the park it's in, though, but it's simply missing a few things to me. Now, one thing that always bugs me, pun intended, about this icon is that it never quite looks right on any piece of merchandise or artwork to me. The fact that it's so hard to draw or represent in any other medium means that it just isn't as good of an icon, to me anyways, as the other ones are. I don't know about you, but I was the kid who used to love to doodle all 4 park icons at Walt Disney World in my notebooks at school. And the Tree of Life, it never quite looked right. It just looked like a tree with some squiggles on it to me. And honestly, that's kind of how the Disney artists represent it on merchandise also. So to me, the Tree of Life is just missing some of those qualities that make for, in my opinion, a really good park icon. But anyways, like I said, this is all just my opinion. Do you agree or disagree with my list? Would you have changed the top spot? Would you have dethroned Cinderella Castle? Or would you have changed the bottom spot? Would you have switched Tree of Life and Pixar Pal around? Let me know. I'm really curious to hear your responses to this. So let me know in the comments wherever it is that you listen, if it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or just drop me a comment or a direct message on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you and keep this conversation going. I hope that you enjoyed this, the first official episode of Season 8 of the Mickey in Minutes podcast. And there are so many more fun episodes coming your way this year. And don't forget to tune into MIM Mondays every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, live on Instagram, and talk to me about the latest Disney news. Let's have a conversation there. That's one of my favorite things that we do on this show. It's also on the podcast feed. So if you've missed any of those episodes, go back and check them out. Well, this has been a great time. I'm your host, Nick Lazaga. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks again for listening to the Mickey in Minutes podcast. If you liked it, tell your fellow Disney friends about it. Follow on Instagram at Mickey in Minutes, subscribe wherever you listen, and check out mickeyinminutes.weebly.com for more content.